All right, so we've already gone through the vast majority of these sections, and we talked about different things that are going on within the community. If we have not gone through, if you've missed anything on these sections, on pages 1229 and 1230, there's a big chunk of background information. You need to go back through and you need to reread so that you can figure out what's going on. But to break it down, predominantly you're looking at communism in America being the reason for the Crucible to be written, and the witch hunts that happened, and then just some background information for the Crucible itself. Predominantly there's also a section in there about women and the care of children and other things, and then it ends with Reverend Hale coming into Salem, and he says, coming into Salem now, Reverend Hale conceives of himself much as a young doctor on his first call. He's painfully acquired an armory of symptoms, catchwords, and diagnostic procedures that he's now at least going to be able to put to use at last. The road from Beverly is unusually busy this morning, and he has passed 100 rumors that make him smile at the ignorance of the yeomanry, basically the gentleman, the simpleton, whoever's simple, in mind. In this most precise science, he feels himself allied with the best minds of Europe, kings, philosophers, scientists, and ecclesiastics of all of the churches. His goal is light, goodness, and in preservation. And he knows the exaltation of the blessed, whose intelligence, sharpened by minute examinations of enormous tracts, is finally called upon to face what may be a bloody fight with the fiend himself. Basically, he's preparing himself to come up against Satan and his people, or his work, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so if you have not got some of the background information, you need to take time to do that right now and go back through it and just skim it if you have to, reread it if you have to, whatever. Pages 1229 and 1230. For those of us that are ready to go ahead and move on into the actual reading, I'll go ahead and play it. I actually have had it attached into the first video that I uploaded to Classroom for you today, as it's attached to your bell work, but it seemed awfully quiet and hard to hear. So I'm going to go ahead and record it again really quick for you, just 4 or 5 minutes of it, so that you can actually get that part done, because you'll be done quickly. And then if you want to go ahead and move on to read the part about Giles Corey, that would be good for you to do, because he's the one that was crushed to death, okay? And he's and so there's some information about him. And then you can go ahead and move on and move forward to keep reading until the end of the bell, all right? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play this for you and let you listen to it and read along, please, on page 1230.
Mr. Hale. Oh, it's good to see you again. Oh, my, these books are heavy.
They must be. They are weighted with authority.
Well, you do come prepared.
We shall need hard study if it comes to tracking down the old boy. You cannot be Rebecca Nurse.
I am, sir. Do you know me?
It's strange how I know you. But I suppose you look as such a good soul should. We have all heard of your great charities in Beverly.
Do you know this gentleman, Mr. Thomas Putnam, and his good wife, Anne?
Putnam. Mr. Hale. Not expect such distinguished company, sir.
It does not seem to help us today, Mr. Hale. We look to you to come to our house and save our child.
Your child ails too.
Her soul seems flown away. She sleeps, and yet she walks.
She cannot eat.
Cannot eat. Do you men have afflicted children?
No, these are farmers. Giles Corey and John Proctor.
He don't believe in witches.
I never spoke on witches one way or the other. Will you come, Giles?
No, John, I think not. I have some few queer questions of my own to ask this fella.
I've heard you be a sensible man, Mr. Hale. I hope you leave some of it in Salem.
Mr. Hale, will you look at my daughter, sir? She is here. She's tried to leap out the window. We discovered her this morning on the high road, waving her arms, so she'd fly.
Tries to fly.
She cannot bear to hear the Lord's name, Mr. Hale. That's a sure sign of witchcraft afloat.
No. Let me instruct you. We cannot look to superstition in this. The devil is precise. The marks of his presence are definite as stone, and I must tell you all that I shall not proceed unless you are prepared to believe me if I should find no bruise of hell upon her.
'Tis agreed, sir. 'Tis agreed. We will abide by your judgment.
Good, then. Now, sir, what were your first warning of the strangeness?
Why, sir, I discovered my daughter Betty, Abigail, my niece, and 10 or 12 of the other girls dancing in the forest last night.
You permit dancing?
No, it was secret.
Mr. Perisslade has knowledge of conjuring, sir.
We cannot be sure of that, Goody Ann.
I know it, sir. I said my child, she should learn from Tituba, who murdered her sisters.
Goody Ann, you sent a child to conjure up the dead.
Let God blame me, not you, Rebecca. I'll not have you judging me anymore. Is it a natural work to lose 7 children before they live a day?
7 dead in childbirth. Have no fear now. We shall find the devil out if he has come among us, and I mean to crush him utterly if he has shown his face.
Will it hurt the child, sir?
I cannot tell. If she is truly in the devil's grip, we may have to rip and tear to get her free.
I think I'll go then. I'm too old for this.
Why, Rebecca, we may open up the boil of all our troubles today.
Let us hope for that. I go to God for you, sir.
I hope you do not mean we go to Satan here.
I wish I knew. I only wish I knew.
Okay, so that's going to be end of that part. Now you're going to go in and look at old Giles Corey. There's a little paragraph about him. It says, old Giles must be spoken for, if only because his fate was to be so remarkable and so different from that of all the others. He was in his early 80s, so he's an older gentleman. He's already lived his life at this time and was the most comical hero in history. No man has ever been blamed for so much. If a cow was missed, the first thought was to look for her around Corey's house. A fire blazing up at night brought suspicion of arson to his door. He didn't give a hoot for public opinion, and only to his last years, after he had married Martha, did he bother much with the church. There's a section of it where that last little section talks about how Giles feels about praying. He said, go up into the dialogue, and it'll be the second to the last time that he speaks. He says, Martha, my wife, I have waked at night many a time and found her in a corner reading of a book. Now, what do you make of that? Hale said, why, that's not necessarily. He says, it discomfits me. Last night, mark this, I tried and could not say my prayers. And then she closed her book and walks out of the house, and suddenly, mark this, I could pray again. So he's blaming his wife at this point in time for his inability to say his prayers while she was reading a certain book. Okay, and so he's kind of suspicious of that. Maybe he's just playing around with Hale. I don't know. He probably is, because he's a little bit of a comedian here. Anyway, back down into the paragraph. After he had married Martha, did he bother much with the church? That he stopped his prayer is very probable, but he forgot to say that he'd only recently learned any prayers, and it didn't take much to make him stumble over them. He was a crank and a nuisance, but withal a deeply innocent and brave man. In court, once he was asked if it were true that he had been frightened by a strange behavior of a hog, and then said he knew it to be the devil in an animal shape. What frightened you, he was asked. He forgot everything but the word frightened, and instantly replied, I do not know that I ever spoke that word in my life. So basically, he's just a comical person and very innocent and strong. Remember, he is the only one to be pressed to death for witchcraft. Hale says at the beginning, the stoppage of prayer, that is strange. I'll speak further on that with you. Giles says, I'm not saying she's touched the devil now, but I'd admire to know what books she reads and why she hides them. She'll not answer me, you see. And then Hale's going to pick up and he says, we will discuss on it. So hopefully by tomorrow we should be able to pick up right here. I hope this helped to clarify the lesson. So I will make a note of it in Google Classroom, and I will see you guys later.